In the silence of the mountains, a millionaire seeks peace on his isolated property. But his tranquility is shattered by a disturbing sound, the desperate cry of a baby surrounded by a grizzly bear. In saving it, he plunges into a dark mystery, involving a missing mother and a criminal organization. Unknowingly, that rescue would change his life forever, transforming him from a businessman into the protector of a deadly secret. If this story is interesting to you, subscribe to the channel to receive all our exciting stories. Continuing. Jack Thompson gazed at the majestic landscape through the panoramic window of his mansion in the Aspen Mountains. The 45-year-old entrepreneur, owner of one of the largest technology companies in the United States, had decided to temporarily isolate himself from the chaos of New York City. His graying hair at the temples and the small wrinkles around his eyes showed the wear of years dedicated exclusively to business. The property, situated in the midst of preserved Rocky Mountain wilderness, represented his private refuge. An imposing three-story building, finished in noble wood and glass, harmoniously integrated with the surrounding nature. The silence was broken only by birdsong and the rustling of leaves in the wind. "Mr. Thompson, breakfast is served," announced Martha, the housekeeper who had worked for him for more than 2 decades. "Thank you, Martha. I'm going for a walk first. I need to enjoy this morning," he replied, adjusting the fine wool jacket over his shoulders. Jack put on his hiking boots and grabbed a small backpack with water and some basic equipment. He had mapped out a private trail on his property that wound through centuries-old pines and crystal-clear streams. The businessman had always been methodical, planning each step with precision, a characteristic that had led him to success in business. The morning was particularly pleasant, with a gentle breeze and the sun filtered through the treetops. As he walked, Jack reflected on his life. At 45, he had achieved everything he had always aimed for professionally, but something was still missing. Loneliness, his constant companion, seemed more present in that isolated environment. It was then that an unexpected sound cut through the silence of the forest. At first he thought it was some animal, but soon identified the unmistakable cry of a baby. His heart raced. It didn't make sense. He was miles from any residence, in a private and fenced area. Following the sound, Jack left the marked trail, entering a denser area of the forest. The crying became clearer with each step. After rounding a large moss-covered rock, he came upon a surreal scene. A baby, who appeared to be no more than a few months old, was carefully wrapped in blankets, protected between the roots of a large tree. With trembling hands, Jack approached the child. The baby, noticing his presence, reduced its crying to a soft whimper. Its small brown eyes stared at the businessman with a mixture of fear and hope that hit him like a punch to the stomach. "How did you end up here, little one?" he murmured, examining the blankets. They were of good quality, and one of them had a delicate embroidery in one corner. Emily W. Carefully, Jack picked up the baby in his arms. The child was cold but seemed well cared for and clean. This indicated that it had been left there recently. He looked around for a note or any other clue but found nothing beyond the blankets. "I'm going to get you out of here," he said, adjusting the small bundle in his arms. The baby snuggled against his chest, seeking warmth. On the way back to the mansion, thousands of questions populated his mind. Who would leave a baby in the middle of the forest? Why on his property? Was the name embroidered on the blanket a clue or an attempt to mislead? "Martha," he shouted as soon as he entered the house. "Martha, come quickly." The housekeeper appeared running, and her eyes widened when she saw the baby in her employer's arms. "Good heavens, what happened?" "I found this baby in the forest. We need to call the authorities immediately," Jack replied, while Martha was already running to prepare warm milk and fetch clean towels. At that moment, looking at the small being that now depended on him, Jack felt something awaken inside him. A new sensation, a protective instinct he had never experienced before. Without knowing it, that unexpected encounter in the forest was about to completely transform his life, triggering a series of events that would test not only his courage, but also his capacity to love unconditionally. The hours following the Encounter in the forest were a whirlwind of emotions and procedures. Sheriff David Miller, a middle-aged man with keen eyes, arrived at the mansion accompanied by a social worker, Sarah Davis, a young professional with a gentle but firm expression. "Mr. Thompson, we need to understand exactly how you found the child," requested the sheriff, while Sarah examined the baby, who was now sleeping peacefully in Martha's arms. Jack reported every detail of that unusual morning, from his walking routine to the moment he heard the crying. He handed over the blankets as evidence, drawing special attention to the embroidery. "Emily W.," murmured Sarah, examining the embroidery carefully. "It could be the mother's name, or perhaps the child's own." "We've already started searching the system for missing persons with that name," informed the sheriff. "But we need to be realistic. This area is isolated, and whoever left the baby here knew exactly what they were doing." Jack observed the baby, who by this time had been fed and changed with Martha's help, who had quickly provided the necessary items from the nearest town. It was a girl appearing to be about 3 months old, with expressive brown eyes and dark curls forming on her head. "What will be the procedure now?" asked Jack, an inexplicable anxiety growing in his chest. "The child will need to go to a temporary shelter while we investigate the case," replied Sarah, her professional tone masking the compassion in her eyes. "No!" Jack's response was instinctive and surprised even himself. "I mean, she's been through so much already. A shelter would be another trauma." Sarah and the sheriff exchanged significant looks. "Mr. Thompson, I understand your concern, but there are procedures—" "I can take care of her," Jack interrupted. "I have resources, a secure house, trusted staff. I can provide everything she needs while the investigation proceeds." "It's not that simple," argued Sarah. "There are legal requirements, evaluations." "Then let's fulfill them," he replied, with the same determination he used in his business negotiations. "I'll do whatever is necessary." After long discussions and phone calls, they reached a temporary agreement. The baby could remain under Jack's care, with regular visits from social services, while the investigations proceeded and legal procedures were initiated. That night, after everyone had left, Jack found himself alone with Martha and the small guest. The housekeeper had improvised a crib with a padded basket, placing it next to Jack's bed. "Are you sure about this, sir?" asked Martha, her voice mixing concern and affection. "A baby changes everything." "I'm not sure of anything, Martha," he replied, watching the little one sleep. "But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm doing something truly important." In the weeks that followed, the mountain mansion gained new sounds and colors. The nighttime crying, the laughter during bath time, Jack's attempts to learn how to change diapers. Each moment was a discovery. Martha, with her experience as a mother and grandmother, became a patient mentor, teaching her employer the mysteries of parenthood. The investigation progressed slowly. The name Emily W. led to some clues, but nothing conclusive. Jack hired private investigators to complement the police work, determined to uncover the story behind that so carefully planned abandonment. One afternoon, while playing with the baby, whom he had started calling Lily for the clarity she had brought to his life, Jack received an intriguing call. One of his investigators had found a connection. 3 months earlier, a woman named Emily Walker had mysteriously disappeared from a hospital in New York City shortly after giving birth. "This may not be a coincidence," said the investigator. "But there's more. Emily Walker was a researcher at a biotechnology company, working on a highly confidential project." Jack looked at Lily, who was happily playing with a rattle. What secrets did that small life carry? What circumstances would have led her mother to make such a drastic decision? At night, after putting Lily to sleep, Jack remained beside the improvised crib, watching over her sleep. "I promise I'll find out the truth," he whispered, caressing the girl's curls. "And I promise I'll protect you, no matter what happens." Little did he know that this promise would be tested far beyond what he could imagine, and that fate had intertwined their lives in a way that no force could separate. Autumn was tinting the Aspen Mountains with golden hues when the first legal summons arrived. Jack was in the living room, watching Lily take her first hesitant steps between the furniture, when Martha entered with the official envelope in her hands. "Mr. Thompson, this came from the courthouse," she said, concern evident in her voice. The document revealed that a hearing had been scheduled to decide on Lily's temporary custody. The district attorney's office was questioning the appropriateness of an environment without a traditional family structure for such a young child, arguing that a specialized shelter would be more suitable during the investigations. "They can't do this," Jack muttered as Lily approached, clinging to his pants with her small hands. In just 2 months, the girl had become the center of his universe. That same afternoon, he met with Rachel Goldberg, one of the most respected family law attorneys in the country. Her office in downtown New York City exuded the seriousness and competence that Jack needed at that moment. "Jack, we need to be realistic," said Rachel, adjusting her thin-rimmed glasses. "You're a single man, a workaholic, with no experience with children. The judge will consider all these factors. But she's happy and well cared for. I have resources, I've hired a specialized nanny, and there's Martha, who's like a grandmother to her," he argued, frustration showing in his voice. "Yes, and we'll use all of that in our favor. But there's something else worrying me." Rachel paused, picking up a folder on her desk. The investigations into Emily Walker revealed some disturbing details. Jack sat up in his chair as Rachel spread some documents on the table. Photographs, old news reports, and corporate reports formed an intriguing mosaic. Emily was a brilliant scientist, Rachel explained. She worked at Biotech Solutions, developing revolutionary research on gene therapy. 3 months before Lily's birth, she presented a concerning report to the company's board, something about irregularities in the tests. "What kind of irregularities?" asked Jack, his business instinct alerting him to the gravity of the situation. "We don't know exactly. The report disappeared, and a week later, Emily requested leave due to pregnancy complications. She never returned to work." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mike Johnson, the private investigator hired by Jack. His burdened countenance indicated important news. "I've gained access to the records of the hospital where Lily was born," said Mike, placing more documents on the table. "Emily was admitted using a false name, but I managed to track her. She seemed to be afraid of something or someone. The nurses reported that she was constantly vigilant, even asked to change rooms twice." Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. The story was becoming more complex and worrying than he had imagined. "There's more," continued Mike. "I found records of significant bank transfers to an account in the Cayman Islands, made by Biotech Solutions in the days leading up to Emily's disappearance." Rachel frowned, analyzing the information. "Jack, this could complicate our situation. Even further, if there's suspicion that Lily is involved in some kind of corporate dispute, the judge might be even more stringent about custody. I won't allow them to take her from me," Jack declared, his voice firm. "Lily is my daughter now, no matter what happens." Upon returning to the mansion that night, Jack found Lily playing with Martha in the living room. The little one smiled when she saw him, extending her arms in his direction. He picked her up, feeling the soft scent of her hair, now fuller and curlier. "Da-da," Lily babbled, surprising everyone in the room. It was the first time she had tried to say something like that. Jack felt his eyes water. At that moment, all concerns about legal processes and investigations seemed to diminish. There was his true battle, to protect that small life that fate had placed in his arms. Martha, noticing her employer's emotion, approached with an envelope in her hands. "This arrived this afternoon, after you left. It has no return address." Inside the envelope, Jack found only an old photo. Emily Walker in her laboratory, smiling at the camera. On the back, a single handwritten sentence: "Protect what is most precious." The mystery surrounding Lily and Emily was beginning to take on more defined contours, but each new discovery seemed to bring more questions than answers. Jack knew he would need all his determination and resources to face what was to come. Jack's office was immersed in the twilight of the evening when he finally gathered the courage to examine the flash drive. Lily was sleeping in the room next door, and Martha had retired after a long day. Only the soft sound of the laptop broke the silence of the mansion. "Whatever is on this flash drive, I need to be prepared," he muttered to himself, inserting the device into the computer. A folder opened, revealing dozens of carefully organized files. The first was a video dated 3 months before Lily's birth. On the screen appeared the face of Emily Walker, the same expressive brown eyes as Lily, dark curly hair, and an expression of determination mixed with concern. "If you're watching this video, it means you've managed to find my daughter and gained my trust," Emily began. "What I'm about to reveal here may seem impossible, but every word is true." Jack adjusted himself in his chair, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Emily continued her narrative, revealing that her research at Biotech Solutions had resulted in a revolutionary discovery. Method of genetic reprogramming that could cure diseases considered incurable. "But they want to use my research for other purposes," Emily explained in the video, her voice trembling slightly. "I discovered documents showing plans to develop genetic alterations that could be used to manipulate people. Behavioral control through genetics. The potential for abuse is devastating. The following files contain detailed reports, compromising emails, and financial spreadsheets that proved every word of Emily's." Jack spent hours analyzing the material, his horror growing with each new revelation. A specific file caught his attention: Guardian Project. It was a detailed technical report describing how Emily had protected her most important discoveries using a revolutionary biometric security system which required the combination of her DNA and her daughter's to be unlocked. "Lily is not just my daughter," Emily continued in the last video. "She is the involuntary guardian of the greatest secret in modern biotechnology. I know it seems crazy to entrust the future of humanity to a baby, but it was the only way to protect this information. Only someone with our combined DNA can access the complete data." The sound of footsteps in the hallway made Jack freeze. He quickly removed the flash drive and hid it in a secret compartment of his desk. The door opened, revealing Mike Johnson. "Sorry for the hour," said the investigator, out of breath. "But I discovered something you need to know immediately. Biotech Solutions is mobilizing a legal team to contest Lily's custody. They intend to claim they have rights over her because of a contract Emily signed during pregnancy." Jack felt his stomach churn. What kind of contract? A confidentiality agreement that, according to them, includes clauses about research involving familial genetic material. It's absurd, but they have powerful lawyers. At that moment, Lily's cry echoed through the room monitor. Jack stood up automatically, his paternal instinct momentarily overcoming all concerns. In the room, he found his little one standing in the crib, arms extended in his direction. As he picked her up, he felt a wave of protection and love that overcame any fear or doubt. "Dada, dada," Lily babbled, nestling into his chest. "I'm here, my love," Jack whispered, kissing her curls. "No one is going to take you away from me." Mike observed the scene from the door, his countenance worried. "Jack, there's one more thing. We found records that Emily made contact with an investigative journalist days before she disappeared. Amy Carter from CNN. I need to talk to her," Jack decided, still cradling Lily. "But first I'm going to make sure Lily is safe. I think it's time to implement some changes around here." In the days that followed, the mansion underwent a transformation. Security systems were updated, cameras installed, and a discreet but efficient security team was hired. Jack also began to prepare a contingency plan, something he never imagined he would need to do. "Do you think they would try something against the little girl?" Martha asked, worried, as she watched technicians install motion sensors. "I'm not going to give them that chance," Jack replied, watching Lily play in her new totally secure space. "But we need to be prepared for anything." What Jack didn't know was that at that very moment, in a meeting room at Biotech Solutions, a group of executives was discussing strategies to obtain custody of Lily, while a mysterious figure observed everything closely with their own plans in mind. The Starbucks cafe in downtown Manhattan was known for its discretion, Jack chose a table in the back of the establishment, where the exposed brick walls and soft lighting created an atmosphere of privacy. Amy Carter arrived punctually, carrying a worn briefcase and a shrewd look that revealed years of investigative journalism. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me," said Jack as the journalist settled in. "When I received your message mentioning Emily Walker, I knew I had to come," replied Amy, her scrutinizing eyes evaluating Jack. "I spent months trying to unravel what happened to her." Jack looked around, making sure they weren't being observed, before continuing. "What exactly did Emily share with you?" Amy removed a small recorder from her bag. "She approached me 3 times. The last time she was visibly pregnant and frightened. She left me a series of coded documents, saying they could only be accessed under specific circumstances." "Coded documents?" Jack felt his heart race. "Yes, and there's something else," Amy lowered her voice. "Emily told me about a project called Metamorphosis. According to her, Biotech Solutions was developing technology that went far beyond curing diseases." At that moment, Jack's cell phone vibrated. It was a message from Martha. "2 people from social services are here. They want to see Lily urgently." "Something wrong?" asked Amy, noticing the change in his expression. "I need to get back home immediately," Jack replied, already standing up. "But first, I need to know everything you can tell me." Amy quickly extracted a flash drive from her briefcase. "Here's everything Emily left me. But she was clear these files can only be opened using something she called a dual key. She said I would know the right moment to deliver this to the right person." On the way back to the mansion, Jack received another message, this time from Mike Johnson. "I checked with social services. No visit was scheduled for today." "Faster," Jack ordered the driver, his heart pounding in his chest. Upon arriving home, he found Martha at the door with Lily safe in her arms. "Thank God you're here, sir," she said, trembling. "Something was wrong. They had official documents, but I noticed inconsistencies. When I said I was going to call to confirm, they simply left." Jack hugged Lily tightly, feeling her small heart beat against his. "You did very well, Martha, very well." Rachel Goldberg arrived minutes later, after being alerted about the incident. "This is very serious, Jack. They tried to use falsified documents to take Lily. We need to take immediate legal action." While Rachel was making calls and preparing documents, Jack received an anonymous email. "You're playing with forces you don't understand. Hand over the child and the files, or the consequences will be inevitable." "They're getting desperate," observed Mike, who had just arrived. "But I got more information about Project Metamorphosis. It's even worse than we imagined." Jack, still holding Lily, headed to his secure room, followed by Mike and Rachel. The investigator spread various documents on the table. "Biotech Solutions doesn't just want Sophia's data," explained Mike. "They want Lily because they believe her DNA, combined with certain genetic sequences developed by Emily, could be the key to something much bigger." "What kind of experiments were they really doing?" asked Rachel, horrified by the evidence she saw. "Genetic manipulation on a level never seen before," replied Mike. "Emily discovered that they were planning to create a form of behavioral control through genetics. Imagine being able to reprogram a person's DNA to make them more obedient, more aggressive, or completely submissive." Lily, oblivious to the tension around her, played with the buttons on Jack's jacket. Her innocent smile contrasted drastically with the gravity of the situation. "We need a plan," said Jack, his voice firm. "I can't allow them to use my daughter as a guinea pig in their twisted experiments." "I have an idea," said Rachel, after a few moments of reflection. "But it's risky, and we'll need help. A lot of help." As they discussed the possibilities, Jack noticed a small detail in the last document Emily had left with Amy, a sequence of numbers that seemed familiar. It was identical to a pattern that Lily used to make with her building blocks, a sequence he always thought peculiar for such a young child. "Could it be?" he muttered to himself, a new possibility forming in his mind. Emily hadn't just protected her secrets with DNA. She had left clues hidden in Lily's very behavioral patterns. The mansion's library had been transformed into an improvised operations center. Maps, documents, and laptops occupied the large oak table, while Rachel outlined her plan to a select group of trusted individuals. Biotech Solutions is preparing for a massive legal offensive, explained Rachel, pointing to a stack of documents. They claim that due to contracts signed by Emily, they have rights over any derived product from her research during her employment period. They're treating Lily like intellectual property, said Jack, his voice laden with indignation. The girl was playing on her favorite rug near the fireplace, organizing her colored blocks in specific patterns. Amy Carter, who had been incorporated into the group after the cafe meeting, observed Lily with interest. These patterns she makes, they're not random, are they? No, confirmed Jack, always the same sequence, blue, red, yellow, blue, green, green, red. I thought it was just a childish preference, but now... Mike approached the rug, photographing the sequence with his cell phone. I'll compare it with the coded documents Emily left. It could be a decryption key. Martha entered the library bringing tea and cookies. Her years of loyal service had made her an essential part of this unlikely group of allies. Mr. Jack, the new security team has just arrived. They're installing the additional equipment. Rachel continued presenting her plan. We need to act on two fronts, legal and investigative. While I prepare a legal counteroffensive, Amy can use her contacts to expose Biotech Solutions' unethical practices. I have sources inside the company, added Amy, disgruntled employees who can confirm Emily's suspicions about the true objectives of Project Metamorphosis. Lily, who had finished her block sequence, walked to Jack, handing him a drawing she had just made. On the paper, colored lines formed a circular pattern that vaguely resembled a double DNA helix. Impressive, murmured Dr. Sarah Evans, Lily's pediatrician, who had also been called to the meeting. Her motor coordination is extraordinary for her age, and these patterns, they almost seem programmed, completed Mike. Emily may have found a way to transmit information through Lily's cognitive development. It's brilliant and scary at the same time. Jack hugged his daughter, who was now humming a soft melody. What else did your mother hide in you, my love? Rachel resumed speaking, detailing the next phase of the plan. We need to be prepared for an emergency hearing. Biotech Solutions will argue that Lily's well-being is at risk due to the mysterious circumstances of her appearance. But we have something they didn't expect, intervened Amy, removing an external hard drive from her bag. Emily didn't entrust all her discoveries to just one place. She created redundancies, backups, and hid them with different people. This one contains evidence that the company conducted unauthorized tests on human volunteers. The group worked late into the night, refining strategies and analyzing documents. Lily eventually fell asleep on the couch, her little face serene, oblivious to the storm forming around her. When everyone had left, Jack remained in the library with Martha, watching his daughter sleep. What Emily did was extraordinary, he said softly. She not only protected her discoveries, but ensured that only someone who truly loved Lily could uncover all the secrets. How so? Asked Martha. Think about it. The patterns Lily makes, her drawings, even her favorite music, they're all part of a complex code. But to notice this, one had to spend time with her, observe her, love her. Biotech Solutions may have the best scientists, but they would never have this perception. At that moment, Jack's cell phone vibrated with a message from Mike. Urgent. Discovered something in Emily's files. She left a specific message for you. Before Jack could respond, the mansion's lights flickered and the security systems emitted a silent alert. Someone was trying to invade the property. The mansion's security system emitted silent alerts on all monitors. Jack acted quickly, picking up Lily in his arms while Martha activated the emergency protocol they had rehearsed so many times. Safe room now, whispered Jack, following the secret corridor that led to the underground bunker, specially constructed in recent weeks. Lily, still drowsy, clung to her father's neck without making a sound, as if instinctively understanding the gravity of the situation. In the improvised monitoring center inside the bunker, the screens showed several figures moving around the property perimeter. The security team was already in position, coordinating a silent response to the invasion attempt. The police are on their way, informed Martha, checking messages on her cell phone. Mike is also coming with reinforcements. Jack placed Lily in a small bed prepared especially for emergencies like this. The girl, surprisingly calm, took her blocks and began organizing them in a new pattern, different from all the previous ones. "Wait," said Jack, observing the sequence. "Martha, hand me the laptop." Quickly, he opened the files that Mike had sent minutes before. Emily's message was encrypted, but something in the new pattern Lily was creating seemed familiar. "It can't be," Jack muttered, typing the color sequence as numbers into a decryption program. The screen flickered, and a message began to form. "Jack, if you're seeing this, it means you've done exactly what I hoped. Loved Lily enough to see beyond the obvious. It's no coincidence you found her. I researched every detail about you before choosing your property, your reputation for integrity, your ability to protect what you love, and mainly your loneliness, which I knew only a child's love could fill." Tears blurred his vision as he continued reading. Emily had planned everything meticulously. The patterns Lily made weren't just codes. They were muscle memories implanted through stimuli during pregnancy, a revolutionary technique Emily had developed. "The true discovery isn't in any file or flash drive," the message continued. "It's in Lily. Not in her DNA, as Biotech Solutions believes, but in her mind. She carries the knowledge unconsciously, manifesting it through patterns, drawings, and songs. Only someone who truly loved her would be able to put all the pieces together." A noise upstairs interrupted his reading. The cameras showed that the security team had intercepted the intruders, who were wearing uniforms of a maintenance company. The police were arriving at that moment, with Mike Johnson accompanying the operation. "Sir," called one of the security guards through the intercom, "situation under control. They were hired professionals, but amateurs. We found surveillance equipment and some DNA collection devices." Jack hugged Lily, who had fallen asleep again among her blocks. Emily's message continued on the screen. "There's one last thing you need to know. The real danger doesn't come from Biotech Solutions, but from within it. There's a dissident group planning to use my discoveries for even more sinister purposes. They have agents infiltrated everywhere, including the judicial system. The emergency hearing they're planning is a trap." Martha, who was reading over Jack's shoulder, gasped. How could she know about the hearing? "She didn't know," Jack replied, his mind working quickly. "She predicted their behavior pattern. Emily wasn't just a brilliant scientist, she was an exceptional strategist." Jack's cell phone vibrated with a message from Rachel. "Hearing scheduled for tomorrow, 9 a.m. Judge changed at the last minute. Something's wrong." "Martha, I need you to make some calls," said Jack, his face determined. "It's time to turn the tables. Emily gave us all the pieces. We just need to put them in the right place." As the night progressed, Jack watched his daughter sleep, the colored blocks still organized in their revealing pattern. Outside, the lights of the police cars were fading away, taking the detained intruders with them. But he knew that the real battle was just beginning. "I promise, my love," he whispered to Lily, "that I will complete what your mother started, and no one will ever use you to harm others." On the laptop, the last part of Emily's message shone like a beacon of hope. "Trust your heart, Jack. The key to protecting Lily and all the other children of the future lies in the love you feel for her. Sometimes, the greatest scientific discovery is realizing that love is the most powerful force in the universe." The courtroom was packed that morning. The newly assigned judge, Judge Robert Hawkins, had a reputation for controversial decisions and suspicious connections with large corporations. Jack, seated next to Rachel, carefully observed each person present, especially the group of Biotech Solutions executives. Lily was in a special room of the courthouse, protected by a trusted team, including Martha and 2 personal security guards. The girl remained surprisingly serene, assembling her colored blocks under the watchful eye of those present. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Robert Hawkins," announced the court officer. The judge entered, his austere countenance contrasting with an unsettling gleam in his eyes. Jack noticed a small scar on his wrist, partially covered by his robe, exactly as Emily had described in her notes about the members of the dissident group. "This is an emergency hearing," the judge began. "Biotech Solutions has presented concerning Evidence about the safety of the minor Lily under the guardianship of Mr. Jack Thompson. Dr. Richard Menzies, now accompanied by 3 lawyers, stood up with a confident smile. Your Honor, we have proof that Mr. Thompson is using the child to illegally access our company's intellectual property. It was then that Amy Carter entered the room, accompanied by a team of journalists and, to everyone's surprise, Dr. Alan Sanders, former scientific director of Biotech Solutions. Your Honor, Rachel intervened, I request permission to present new evidence and witnesses. Judge Hawkins hesitated, his expression betraying a moment of concern. What kind of evidence? Evidence that shows not only the legitimacy of Mr. Thompson's guardianship, but also reveals a conspiracy within Biotech Solutions to use genetic research unethically. Dr. Alan Sanders approached the center of the room. I worked at Biotech Solutions for 20 years. Emily Walker was my protege. When she discovered what was really happening in the underground laboratories, she came to me for help. Jack observed the reaction of the company executives. Some turned pale. Others began to whisper nervously among themselves. Dr. Menzies tried to intervene, but the judge, realizing he was losing control of the situation, allowed the testimony to continue. Emily discovered that a group within the company was developing a genetic modification program with military objectives, Dr. Sanders continued. Not to cure diseases, but to create programmable human beings, starting with children. Amy. Carter stood up, distributing folders to the judge and those present. I have here testimonies from 15 more scientists, internal documents and evidence of illegal experiments, including evidence that members of this group have infiltrated strategic positions to facilitate access to vulnerable children. Judge A. Hawkins tried to end the hearing, but Rachel was prepared. Your Honor, we have one more piece of evidence to present, something that Emily Walker left specifically for this moment. Jack signaled, and Martha entered with Lily. The girl, carrying her colored blocks, walked directly to the center of the room. Without any guidance, she began to organize the blocks in a specific pattern, the same one that had been documented on video the night before in the presence of a court officer. This is not a random pattern, Rachel explained. It's a specific sequence that corresponds exactly to the records of illegal experiments conducted by Biotech Solutions, a living proof of how Emily protected her discoveries in the most brilliant way possible, through maternal love. Dr. Menzies stood up furiously. This is ridiculous. They're just toy blocks. They're much more than that, Dr. Sanders intervened. Emily developed a revolutionary technique of genetic memory transmission. Lily doesn't just carry her mother's DNA, she carries her most important memories, encoded in behavioral patterns that only a true effective bond could reveal. Chaos ensued in the room when federal agents, who had positioned themselves discreetly among the audience, began making arrests. Judge Hawkins tried to leave the room but was detained. On his cell phone, they found messages directly linking him to the dissident group. Lily, oblivious to the confusion, finished her block pattern and ran into Jack's arms. "Dada," she smiled, nestling into his lap. "It's over, my love," Jack whispered, kissing her forehead. "Your mother would be so proud of you." But as order was being restored in the courtroom, no one noticed a discreet figure leaving the courthouse, a person carrying a flash drive containing Emily Walker's last and most important message. As the courthouse emptied, Jack held Lily close, his mind racing with the implications of what had just transpired. The immediate threat from Biotech Solutions seemed to have been neutralized, but he knew this was far from over. Rachel approached, her face a mix of triumph and concern. "We've won this battle, Jack, but the war isn't over. Biotech Solutions will appeal, and there are still unanswered questions about Emily's research." Jack nodded, his eyes never leaving Lily. "What's our next move?" "We need to dig deeper," Amy interjected, joining them. "The flash drive Emily left me, we need to decode it fully. There might be crucial information we're missing." As they left the courthouse flanked by security, Jack noticed a familiar face in the crowd. Dr. Alan Sanders, looking nervous and conflicted. Their eyes met, and Dr. Sanders gave a subtle nod before disappearing into the throng of reporters and onlookers. Back at the mansion, the team regrouped in Jack's study. Lily was safely tucked away for a nap, monitored by Martha and the enhanced security system. Mike spread out new documents on the desk, his face grim. "I've been digging into Biotech Solutions' financial records," he began. "There's a pattern of large transfers to offshore accounts coinciding with key dates in Emily's research timeline." Rachel leaned in, examining the papers. "This could indicate a larger conspiracy. Maybe Biotech Solutions isn't the ultimate puppet master here." Jack's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Meet me at Riverside Park near the 79th Street boat basin. Come alone. S." "It's Alan Sanders," Jack said, showing the others. "He wants to meet." "It could be a trap," Mike warned. Jack considered for a moment. "Maybe, but he's our best link to understanding what really happened with Emily. I have to go." After intense debate and careful planning, Jack found himself walking along the Hudson River as the sun began to set. He spotted Dr. Sanders on a bench, looking out over the water. "Thank you for coming," Sanders said as Jack sat beside him. "There's so much you need to know, so much that Emily couldn't tell you directly." Over the next hour, Sanders revealed a complex web of deceit and ambition that went far beyond Biotech Solutions. A shadowy international consortium, he explained, had been funding genetic research around the world, seeking to create a new form of human, one that could be controlled at the genetic level. Emily discovered their true intentions, Sanders continued, his voice barely above a whisper. She realized that her work could be weaponized, used to create an army of genetically altered super soldiers. That's when she decided to hide her research in the most ingenious way possible. "Into Lily," Jack finished, the pieces finally falling into place. Sanders nodded. "Not just in her DNA, but in her very development. Every milestone, every seemingly random pattern, it's all part of a complex code. Emily knew that only someone who truly loved and nurtured Lily would be able to decipher it fully." As they talked, Jack noticed a red dot appearing on Sanders' chest. Without thinking, he tackled the older man to the ground just as a shot rang out. Chaos erupted in the park as people screamed and ran for cover. Jack's security team, which had been discreetly monitoring from a distance, sprang into action. As they ushered Jack and Sanders to safety, more shots were fired, one grazing Jack's arm. In the ensuing confusion, Sanders pressed a small object into Jack's hand. "Emily's final safeguard," he gasped. "Protect it with your life." Back at the mansion, as a doctor tended to Jack's wound, the team gathered to assess this new development. The object Sanders had given Jack turned out to be a small, intricately designed locket. "It's a bio-encrypted storage device," Mike explained after examining it. "It requires both Lily's DNA and a specific sequence of actions to unlock." As if on cue, Lily toddled into the room, making a beeline for Jack. As she climbed into his lap, her small hands reached for the locket, turning it over with curiosity. To everyone's amazement, the locket began to glow softly, responding to Lily's touch. A holographic display appeared above it, showing a complex molecular structure slowly rotating. "It's the complete map of Emily's research," Dr. Sarah gasped, "the key to understanding her breakthrough in genetic programming." Over the next few weeks, as Jack recovered and the team worked tirelessly to unravel Emily's research, they faced constant threats. Attempts were made to hack their systems, to infiltrate the mansion's security, and even to kidnap Lily during a rare outing. But with each challenge, they grew stronger and more determined. Jack's love for Lily deepened, as did his resolve to protect her and the incredible legacy her mother had left behind. As they delved deeper into Emily's work, they began to understand the true magnitude of her discovery. It wasn't just about curing diseases or enhancing human capabilities. Emily had found a way to unlock the hidden potential of the human genome, to tap into abilities that had long been dormant in our species. She called it Project Prometheus, Amy explained, reading from newly decrypted files. Emily believed that humanity was on the brink of a new evolutionary leap, but she feared what would happen if this knowledge fell into the wrong hands. Jack looked at Lily, peacefully napping on the couch in his study. So she encoded everything into Lily's development, knowing that only through love and nurturing could the full potential be realized. Rachel nodded, a look of awe on her face. It's brilliant. The very act of raising Lily with love and care is slowly unlocking the secrets of Emily's research. Each developmental milestone, each new skill Lily acquires, it's all part of the decryption process. As the implications of this sank in, Jack realized the enormous responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. It wasn't just about protecting Lily anymore, it was about safeguarding the future of humanity itself. The final piece of the puzzle came on Lily's second birthday. As she blew out the candles on her cake, surrounded by her newfound family, the locket around Jack's neck began to pulse with a soft light. In that moment, as if guided by some unseen force, Lily began to hum a melody, the same lullaby Emily used to sing to her before she was born. As her sweet voice filled the room, the locket projected a final message from Emily. "My dearest Lily, and to you, her protector," Emily's holographic image spoke, her eyes filled with love and determination. "If you're seeing this, it means you've unlocked the final key. The knowledge I've hidden is now yours to guard and nurture, just as you've nurtured Lily." She went on to explain that the full scope of her research was now accessible, but with it came a grave responsibility. The genetic advancements she had discovered had the potential to eliminate disease, extend human lifespan, and even enhance cognitive abilities. But in the wrong hands, it could lead to unimaginable abuses of power. "I trust you to make the right choices," Emily's message concluded. "Let love be your guide, just as it guided me in creating this failsafe. The future of humanity is in your hands now. Use this knowledge wisely and always remember, the greatest force in the universe isn't genetic engineering or scientific breakthroughs, it's love." As the message faded, Jack looked around the room at the team that had become his family: Rachel, Mike, Amy, Dr. Sarah, and Martha. Each of them had played a crucial role in unraveling this mystery and protecting Lily. And at the center of it all was Lily herself, giggling as she played with the ribbon from a birthday gift, blissfully unaware of the monumental legacy she carried. In that moment, Jack made a decision. They wouldn't hide this knowledge, but they wouldn't rush to reveal it either. They would take the time to understand it fully, to consider all the implications, and to put safeguards in place to prevent misuse. "We'll create a foundation," he announced to the group, "the Walker-Thompson Foundation for Ethical Genetic Research. We'll gather the brightest minds, the most ethical scientists, and we'll move forward carefully, always putting the welfare of humanity first." As the others nodded in agreement, Jack picked up Lily, holding her close. He thought about the journey that had brought them to this point, from that fateful day in the woods to this moment of profound discovery. Through it all, one thing had remained constant: the love he felt for this little girl, who had changed his life in ways he could never have imagined. "Happy birthday, my little firefly," he whispered to Lily, using the nickname Emily had given her. "Your mom would be so proud of you, and I promise you we're going to change the world, but we'll do it with love, just like she wanted." As the sun set on that momentous day, Jack Thompson looked out the window of his study, Lily sleeping peacefully in his arms. The weight of the future rested on their shoulders, but he felt ready for the challenge. With love as their guide, and the legacy of Emily's brilliant mind to light the way, they would face whatever came next, together. In the years that followed, the Walker-Thompson Foundation became a beacon of hope and progress in the scientific community. Their careful ethical approach to genetic research led to breakthrough treatments for previously incurable diseases. Lily grew into a brilliant, compassionate young woman, carrying forward her mother's legacy with grace and determination. And through it all, Jack remained steadfast in his promise to protect Lily, to honor Emily's sacrifice, and to ensure that the incredible power they had been entrusted with would always be used for the betterment of humanity. As he watched Lily graduate from college, delivering a powerful valedictorian speech, about the responsibility that comes with knowledge. Jack felt a profound sense of pride and accomplishment. They had faced countless challenges and overcome seemingly insurmountable odds, but they had done it together, guided always by the most powerful force in the universe, love.